Hello and welcome to HBM's Cryptid-Corner for Wednesday, September 16th, 2020. We have several things to talk about, so let's get started. Our first story is about an anniversary. 25 years ago, down in Puerto Rico, the first sightings of the El Chupacabras were made. Here's a sketch of one. That's actually pretty close to the actual description, the original description of the chupacabra. They call them the goat sucker. That's what chupacabra means, by the way. Apparently there were many animals left dead with strange marks on their necks and a distinct lack of blood. These things are like vampires. There's another interpretation of what they look like. That's actually closer to the, you might say, feral dogs or mangy coyotes down in Texas. Now, according to Nick Redfern in this article, there's actually giant cats down in Puerto Rico which have killed animals as well, but probably not quite like the chupacabras. Now, in Texas, they look different than they do down in Puerto Rico. In Texas, you have the variety which may indeed turn out to be just mangy coyotes and mangy dogs. And those have been on film, by the way. There's a dash cam video of one which has been seen several times. Police officer dash cam, I should say, or sheriff's department dash cam of the Texas version of the chupacabra. But it's a fascinating mystery. You know, what are these creatures? Who knows? Very strange. Here's a rather unfortunate story. A Bigfoot researcher in Alabama arrested for attempted murder. Gwendolyn Michelle Jones shot a handgun multiple times at an unnamed individual while he was asleep in his bed. My goodness. And she's been associated with Todd Standing as well. So, yeah. You don't see too many stories like this, though. This is unique. We'll just put it that way. Here's another interesting article by Nick Redfern. Bigfoot, why can't we get the proof? And it makes you wonder, why can't we get the proof? I mean, these creatures, they seem to be pretty elusive, but why are they so elusive? There's also the matter of them getting shot. No bodies despite that. There's no proof to show that a Bigfoot has ever been struck and killed by the driver of a vehicle. I mean, there's proof of other animals. Why isn't there proof of Sasquatch? It's a good question. It really is. You have to wonder about these things. It's a really good question. Why isn't there any proof? Could it be because these creatures are more non-corporeal? That they're non-flesh and blood? I mean, how do you explain it? How do you explain the how do you explain it? You just it's hard to explain. It really is. It's difficult. How do you explain it? Nick says, this all brings us to the weirder side of the Bigfoot phenomenon. Like it or not, and most Bigfoot seekers don't like it, which is just too bad, there are reports of Bigfoot vanishing in a flash of light. Other witnesses have said the animals disappeared, as in literally right in front of them. So, how do you explain it? How do you explain it? Finally, in Cornwall, England, a witness has talked about having an encounter with a Sasquatch in his home country. From the southwest to the Highlands, there's a suggestion that Bigfoot or wild men could be roaming the British countryside, but they may not be all that they seem. These may be the non-corporeal type creatures. I know that's controversial. I realize the things I'm saying are controversial. But we have to be open-minded about this stuff. We can't just dismiss it out of hand just because it doesn't fit our paradigm. And I realize that non-corporeal Sasquatch does not fit most purviews of Bigfoot researchers. But you can't put it out of your mind. You have to think about it. You have to consider it. You can't just say, well, that's just crazy. No, you have to consider it. I mean, whether you want to or not, whether you want to consider it or not, you have to consider it. This fellow apparently had a sighting, and it was investigated by the British Bigfoot Cryptid and Paranormal Research Group. Sightings of mysterious beasts and wild men are quite common in the southwest of England, that is. So there you go. I mean, there are those who call the non-corporeal Bigfoot believers the woo. But who's to say they're not right? Who's to say they haven't been right all along? I mean, if you think they're so wrong, then you figure out why we can't get a Bigfoot. Tell us why we can't get a Bigfoot. Give us an explanation. I realize that it's easy to dismiss. I mean, I realize that. I dismissed it for years. But let's just say I'm open-minded about it. I try to stay open-minded to all possibilities and not be prejudgmental, as it were. No, that does not mean I'm falling to the dark side. It just means I'm open-minded about it. and I don't close my mind off to the possibility. And that's going to do it for this week. Actually, I think we're going to start back weekly. Start this week. Because school's back in session and everything, even though there are some kids that are not actually in school. They're actually taking online courses at home. But you guys get what I mean. Anyway, thank you very much for tuning in. You guys are the heart of the show. We do appreciate each and every one of you. And until next week, y'all be good or be good at it. This is May-HBM's Crypto Corner.